We've all heard the big news. On January 20th, 2021, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris were inaugurated as President and Vice President of the United States. In those 5 days, all sorts of things have been said, and I think I want to cast a little light on some of the plans, thoughts, and policies of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris in the White House. I decided to choose this specific topic for the first episode of The Bigger Picture because it clearly needed to be said, it's new, it's important, and I've heard some misinformation and some lack of knowledge in some statements by some people and by some organizations. I will acknowledge that I am personally biased towards Biden, and I hope that Biden can bring about a positive change in the US. I'm not saying anything against our previous president, but I'm hoping, as always with every new president, that they're better than the last. Keeping America on a positive roll every single election, every 4 years. As I write this on January 25th, 2021, Biden has signed 33 executive orders. Number 1 strengthens the American buy rules by closing loophole. Number 1 strengthens Buy American rules by closing loopholes and reducing waivers granted on federal purchases of domestic goods. Number 2 reinstates COVID-19 restrictions for individuals traveling to the United States from the Schengen area, the United Kingdom, Ireland, and South Africa. Number 3 reverses the Trump administration's ban on transgender Americans joining the military. Number 4 restores collective bargaining power and worker protections for federal workers, and lays the foundation for the $15 minimum wage. Number 5 calls for assistance to those who are struggling to buy food, missed out on stimulus checks, or are unemployed. Number 6 accelerates manufacturing and delivery of supplies for vaccination, testing, and personal protective equipment, PPE, like masks and face shields and all the other stuff you use. Number 7 directs FEMA to expand reimbursement to states to fully cover the cost for National Guard personnel and emergency supplies. Number 8 establishes the Pandemic Testing Board to expand U.S. coronavirus testing capacity. Number 9 establishes a preclinical program to boost development of therapeutics in response to pandemic threats. Number 10 enhances the nation's collection, production, sharing, and analysis of coronavirus data. Number 11 directs FEMA to create federally supported community vaccination centers. Number 12 directs the Department of Education and HHS to provide guidance for safely reopening and operating schools, child care providers, and institutions of higher education like universities. Number 13 calls on the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, OSHA, to release clear guidance on COVID-19, decide whether to establish emergency temporary standards, and directs OSHA to enforce worker health and safety requirements. Number 14 requires wearing a mask in airports and on certain modes of transportation, including many trains, airplanes, and maritime vessels, and intercity buses. International travelers must provide a proof of a negative COVID-19 test prior to coming to the U.S. Number 15 creates the COVID-19 Health Equity Task Force to help ensure an equitable pandemic response and recovery. Number 16, a presidential directive to restore America's leadership, support the international pandemic response effort, promote resilience for future threats, and advance global health security and the global health security agenda. Number 17 launches a 100 days masking challenge, asking Americans to wear masks for 100 days, requires mask and physical distancing in federal buildings, on federal lands, and by government contractors, and urges states and local governments to do the same. Number 18 stops the United States' withdrawal from the World Health Organization, WHO, and Dr. Fauci becomes the head of the delegation to the WHO. Number 19 creates the position of a COVID-19 response coordinator, directly reporting to Biden and managing the efforts to produce and distribute vaccines and medical equipment. Number 20 extends the existing nationwide moratorium, or the pause, on evictions and foreclosures until at least March 31st. Number 21 extends the existing pause on student loan payments and interest for Americans with federal student loans until at least September 30th. Number 22 rejoins the Paris Climate Accord, a process that takes 30 days. Number 23 cancels the Keystone XL pipeline and directs agencies to review and reverse more than 100 Trump actions on the environment. Number 24 rescinds the Trump administration's 1776 Commission, directs agencies to review their actions to ensure racial equity. Number 25 prevents workplace discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation or gender identity. Number 26 requires non-citizens to be included in the census and appointment of congressional representatives. Number 27 fortifies DACA after Trump's efforts to undo protections for Number 27 fortifies DACA after Trump's efforts to undo protections for undocumented people brought into the country as children. Number 28 reverses the Trump administration's restrictions on U.S. entry, so entry into the U.S., for passport holders from 7 Muslim-majority countries. Number 29 undoes Trump's expansion of immigration enforcement within the United States. Number 30 halts construction of the border wall by terminating the national emergency declaration used to fund it. Number 31 extends deferrals of deportation and work authorizations for librarians with a safe haven in the United States until June 30th, 2022. Number 32 requires executive branch appointees to sign an ethics pledge barring them from acting in personal interest and requiring them to uphold the independence of the Department of Justice. And number 33 directs the OMB director to develop recommendations to modernize regulatory review and undoes Trump's regulatory approval process. Now on to Biden's views and policy plans. For the economy, he plans to create a large number of jobs for a COVID-19 recovery, and has also said that he will provide government funding to state and local governments for essential government workers such as teachers, firefighters, and police. He's going to create public health jobs for unemployed workers to help eradicate COVID-19 and also to further extend unemployment insurance. Biden's economic plan mainly focuses on using American citizens to fix American problems, using government money. Naturally, having more government workers and spending more government money leads to higher government spending, which results in either higher taxes or further American debt. Biden has also released plans to strengthen American manufacturing, which includes strengthening of unions and the increasing of the minimum wage. For healthcare, Biden's plan is, in my eyes, kind of ingenious. His plan involves healthcare for all, but not in the usual way of just giving it to everyone for free. The idea is to use the bargaining power of the government to negotiate for lower prices for prescriptions, healthcare, and other medical services. Basically, if you choose not to take it, you don't have to. But if you do, you pay a monthly subscription like a normal healthcare, a monthly premium as it's technically called, but at a lower cost than private healthcare for the same value of healthcare plan. In a more medium healthcare range, so nothing crazy like you won't get Life Flight or whatever the heck it is, where you get helicoptered if you were a member and you get injured somewhere out of the way. But it's also at a good low cost, unlike private healthcare, so it makes it more accessible to everyone. And now, to the big topic that's sweeping the nation and infecting the minds of the public. COVID-19. Biden's plan would involve a more aggressive approach to the vaccine, involving widespread free testing, an increase in healthcare capacity, and a focus on global efforts to combat the pandemic. He's also mentioned possible plans of a U.S. mask mandate, which would require residents to wear a mask when outside and around others outside of their household. So far, Biden has only released a federal mask mandate. Basically, you have to wear a mask on federal land. It's his executive order number 17, so places like the National Mall, the White House, and the Congress building. Biden has said very little on violent crime. However, his policies do show an intent to address the root of problems of crime through rehabilitative means instead of through traditional law enforcement and prison. Biden has called for a grant program aimed at prevention instead of incarceration, and reductions in racial disparity in sentencing, where one race gets a higher sentence than another race based on race. He has not put forth a general policy plan, but is generally opposed to defunding the police. but has instead advocated for increased education for law enforcement and an increase in funding to drug and mental health programs. He's also expressed interest in eliminating eliminating both solitary confinement and the death penalty. In national defense and American interests, Biden's policies puts an emphasis on less of an America first and more of a collaborative approach. His goals are to maintain a closer relationship with our key allies such as NATO, Australia, New Zealand, Japan, and South Korea, and he also plans to rekindle the previous nuclear deal with Iran that ended in early 2020 after the death of an Iranian general in a unfortunate drone strike accident, as we call it. His stance on China is relatively vague, but he plans to pressure the country on its human rights violations. He also plans to withdraw as many troops as possible from places like the Middle East, in Iraq, Syria, and Afghanistan. Those are all we know so far about Biden's policies and what they plan to do in their at least first 100 days or maybe even longer. Thank you for pausing and listening, and stay educated, stay informed, and have a good day.